INEC postponed governorship election and the State House of Assembly, which was slated for 11th of March 2023 to the 18th of March 2023. Good morning and welcome to the Dailies on Echo Television International, where we keep you up to date with what is happening on our papers. I'm Sela Elisha Dashom and Rachel Tanzi is with me in the studio. Good morning,
Morning,
Rachel.
Sere.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How
Hope you
about
rested
you?
well. I'm fine. Thank you so
I
much.
did. Thank
We're
you.
live on Facebook and also on YouTube. You can do well. Drop your comment, drop your contribution on any story that is of interest to you, and we'll just keep on seeing what is happening around on the papers. And let me quickly go through the papers, starting with the Blueprint newspaper. February 25th poll, Atiku Lega team faces Tinubu in battle of 32 cents with the rider, "I will recover my stolen mandate," coming from the ex-vice president. President-elect granted leave to inspect beavers. All appear set for what can be described as a titanic battle at the Presidential Election Petition Court, sitting in Abuja as the presidential candidate of the People Democratic Party (PDP), former Vice President Atiku Abubakar announced a legal team competing 19 senior advocates of Nigeria. The team, led by J.K. Gazima, is to prove the illegitimacy of the outcome of the February 25th presidential election, which Atiku described as "my stolen mandate." On the team with Gazima, a tested legal and commercial legal expert at Chief Chris Uche, Mr. Paul Uzuro, Tayo Jagade, Ken Morris, Chief Mike, among others. Others are Chief Goldie Uche, Professor Maxwell Guido, the PDP National Legal Advisor, and also we have Mr. Abdul Ibrahim. They will, trade tackle with yet another all-sun team of 19 lawyers led by Lateef Bekfemi. You can read more of that on page 6, which we saw yesterday, that the APC actually have another 12 sons, so we can see that this has made it a battle of 32 sons. So we keep our fingers crossed, as everybody feel that his mandate has been stolen. So let's keep our fingers crossed and see what will happen, because even the president-elect need a leave to actually inspect the beavers too. The big story here: governorship and House of Assembly elections. Delayed court ruling on beavers forced poll shift to March 18 with the rider. INEC pleads for understanding. Commission requires 4 days for reconfiguration. This is coming from a source, and we can find that on page 6. And we could recall that INEC actually asked that they should be giving the beavers. We are also aware of the fact that the Labour Party and the PDP were actually given the leave so they could inspect, because people were of the opinion, or let me just say the opposition party, that is the PDP and the Labour Party, were of the opinion that something didn't go right, and so they were given the mandate to inspect, get whatever evidence they need to get, and present it before the tribunal. And as of yesterday, that was when we were awaiting to hear what the tribunal would say, because even INEC were actually asking that the beavers should be given to them, because they need to refigure it for, the governorship election. But then right now they're giving us reasons why we can't have the election on Saturday, and it has been postponed till next weekend. A lot of people are actually coming out to, even though personally, if you ask me, I felt that these parties should actually be given the right to present whatever evidence they feel. They should not feel like their mandate has been stolen from them, because this is what it's looking at. Right now, the court have actually given the INEC the beavers, but they said it will take about 4 days, and so the time is too short. But regardless of that, just think about somebody that have to close down his work, travel from one place to another, just to be able to exercise his franchise. Schools have to close down, and then let's not even go to the tertiary institution that have been on strike for like 8 months. They're just coming back, and then this, the break off and on. You can imagine that's like taking about a month or so from this institution, because it's till the 18th. It's about a month since when school went on. I think they give them vacation from February 22nd. Yeah, from February 22nd was when schools were asked to be shut down, and we saw the likes of Efe Babalola, ASU complaining that will affect the academic calendar, because they are still trying to catch up. Of course, they cannot do all that. But with all of this now, we can see that definitely it will affect. But I just hope that when all of this is done, INEC have actually taken into consideration all of these observations that have been raised. So we don't have to go back again. At the end of the day, we know that whatever time we have given will pay off at the end of the day. That schools will not regret doing this because we'll still be having, some problems. So I hope that with the time that INEC have to refigure the beavers, they should check whatever technical issues the beavers will be having. Let us see that everything is, actually going as it's expected to go, and then everybody will be happy at the end of the day. But I just hope that INEC will actually take into cognizance every observation that have been made.
Sally, I'm looking forward to where Nigeria will grow beyond certain things, and when we trust the system will deliver. For example, Nigerians all had hope and trust on INEC that they know exactly what they're doing, but as time goes on, it's either INEC didn't know what they're doing, or perhaps they didn't tell Nigeria the process as it will be, based on what I said yesterday. Because when you look at it, you have a product to use for election, which is the beaver. You have a system to use for the election, and automatically how it's supposed to, what is expected is that you know the process when it comes to using these beavers, in the sense that you know that, okay, you tell Nigerians that after every election, for this beaver to function well, it needs reconfiguration. INEC didn't tell us that. And if it is that the beavers need reconfiguration, then it is something that the court is supposed to approve way before now, way even before the election starts. Meaning we know that immediately after the presidential election, we've had a period of 2 weeks. Within this period, INEC already have the go-away prior to the election, because you've told the state, the judiciary, and everybody the process that is after this election. How these beavers function is that they need to go through reconfiguration for them to be set for the gubernatorial election. So automatically we are done with the presidential election. Then we know automatically there's already an approval from the court, because we know the process. Then the reconfiguration happens, and then we have no reason whatsoever to say that the reason why the governorship election can't take place on Saturday is because the beavers need to be reconfigured, because this is something that could be averted and not even a problem in the first place, but for some reason it has now become a reason and concrete to the eye of INEC, even when it's not supposed to be, as a reason to why elections can't hold this Saturday. So I'm looking forward to where we will do things right as a country, where we will follow the due process, and where we'll tell Nigerians, this is how we're going to execute a certain thing. We execute it that way. You tell us, this is how these beavers function. This is how we're going to handle people, not back and forth, and we don't even understand what is this beaver, because now everybody don't even understand what is with this beaver, don't understand whether we're going to as it's supposed to be. Let's grow beyond coming and making flippy.
Yeah, even though I know even the issue of this electronic transmission of result is in the all that they said about the electronic transmission of result. And then just like you say, we're looking forward to when we'll respect time. I'm hoping that if you as a commission or as an agency, you should have like 2 weeks window period. Possibly maybe INEC didn't see this coming. They didn't know that the petition coming from the Labour Party, PDP, and even the APC president-elect right now, all of this will actually affect them having access to the beavers. But regardless, I'm hoping that they have ample time to be able to refigure it, and then enough time to send these beavers to all the polling unit that is expected. Still on the Blueprint newspaper, bandits kill pregnant woman, 4 others abduct 50 in Niger, with the rider slay 6 vigilante at Brindingwari checkpoint. And we have on the International Women's Day, talent count losses over women's exclusion from the digital economy. You can read that on page 15. Buhari, Lawan, Tinubu, Bello, others hail Osinbajo at 66. We also, wish him a happy birthday here. You can find more of that on pages 7, 13, and 14. Marksman kills security guard and burn Lagos spare parts market. You can find that on page 8. EcoBank celebrates women, ensures of equal treatment at workplace. I'm really happy to hear this coming. I hope that every agency will do the same. INEC orders supplementary poll in Dogua's constituencies. You can find that also on page 5. Picture story, we can see the INEC chairman together with other of his, stakeholders over there. And that's all on the Blueprint newspaper.
On the Guardian newspaper, development of ICT director not reason for Beaver's technical hitch, INEC claims. On IWD, Canadian envoy says Nigeria facing serious SGBV crisis, and you can read more of that on page 4. My son Badebo, not Igbo, no link with IPOP, says Rods Vivo. 97% of farms in Nigeria others to experience tech skills challenge in 2023. The big story on the Guardian newspaper, called others Beavers reset as INEC shifts Guba polls to March 18. INEC Beavers reconfiguration, transport logistic forced shift by 1 week. Appeal court grants Tinubu access to inspect Beavers for defense. Atiku Obi request to inspect election material still in force. Atiku inaugurates legal team. Lawyers weigh in on reconfiguration verdict. Lagos court orders INEC to upload results to IRF. NBA tax INEC to fix Beavers glitches before Saturday. Coming from Afenifere, INEC illegally declared Tinubu as president-elect. Obi won. You can start with the story on the front page and continue on page 6. Where in APC but will vote PDP in Nasarawa Guba poll. You can find who is saying that and the details on page 30. World Kidney Day, 45,000 Nigerians die yearly due to kidney failure. We can find the details on page 6. We have a picture story where we can see people stranded at the ATMs, and we have another picture story where we can see the President Buhari yesterday at Dara for the gubernatorial election, and that's all the news on the Guardian newspaper.
Yeah, Richard, looking at this World Kidney Day, I know we are not health expert, but I think anytime we have any, like say, World Day, Tuberculosis World Day,
Yes.
Liver World Day, anything, we try to call the attention of health expert NGOs that a lot of people are dying, especially looking at the kidney day. It's really, I think it's one of the illness that have taken lots and lots of life. I've lost someone dearly to me. I think about 2 people to kidney. And so I really know what it takes, and then looking at the patient, the money you need for dialysis and all of that. And this is not an illness that should be played with, and we can actually prevent that from happening.
True.
Only we actually do what is expected. I know sometimes we play with this when they say drink lots of water, but it's really something very important because it helps your kidney flushes every toxic that is actually stored up there. And that's why the more you take water, you tend to flush out everything that is not supposed to be, even though I know there are other reasons that can actually lead to that. But I know one of the basic things that anybody can do is learning the habit of drinking water even when you don't feel thirsty. And I think that the awareness should be raised. We always emphasize that we shouldn't just stop in the urban areas. We need to go down to the grassroots level. Because these are people that might not really know. Funny enough, as people of the urban areas are always fall ill to this, maybe looking at our eating habits and all of that, and that is what bring about all of it. But regardless of gender, regardless of tribe, this is an illness that is really, really killing people. So I'm looking forward to seeing, because I know anytime we have a World Day like this, we have free checkups being done, and then so you get to test. Sometimes people don't really go to the hospital to check themselves thoroughly. You just feel a little pain and you feel, okay, I think it's just ulcer. Let me quickly get something that would treat that, and before you realize it, you're actually triggering another illness. So let's form that habit of going for regular checkups, so be able to check our system, know what exactly is wrong with you, because prevention is really, really
It's
better than
better than
cure.
cure,
So I
yeah.
hope that we'll do that, and we hope that Nigeria, the Medical Association over there, and even the Ministry of Health will actually take all of this seriously, because it's not funny. We have the case of Ekwere Madu that still needs his daughter to have a kidney transplant. This is all as a result of all of
Yeah.
these things you get. So if only we do what is expected, because even kidney transplant is quite expensive.
It is
Not everybody
expensive.
can afford that, Rachel.
Yeah.
So I hope that we'll actually put ourselves together, raise the awareness, no matter how little it is. Let's go to all the various points we know we can, and also let's form the habit of going for medical checkups.
A lot of diseases and sicknesses like cancer, hepatitis, diabetes can be linked to hereditary. There are people who were being given birth with some of these sicknesses. But when it comes to kidney, it mainly boils down to your lifestyle choices, what you consume. Meaning if you decide to make healthy choices when it comes to food, and you mentioned drinking a lot of water, and I know a lot of time any advice that is attached to the kidney is take a lot of water, because it's something that is one organ that doesn't need like toxic things being consumed, and one of which is alcohol, and it's not good for the system. And even the kind of meat we consume, what kind of meat do you consume, is one of the things that also affect the kidney. And so it's just your lifestyle choice, what you choose to put in your body, that matters a lot when it comes to the health of your kidney. So it's not too late for you to start making the right lifestyle choices. Choose what you consume, choose the kind of meat you consume, take a lot of water, and if you have your way, stay away from alcohol, because it's not a healthy thing. I don't know what you will hear out there or what people will tell you, but it's one of those things that it should stay away from our body, because apart from the drunken part of it, I feel the health part of it is the most dangerous one, because we won't even talk about liver cirrhosis, but this affects our kidney and even other organs of the body. So let's just stay healthy.
Of course, living healthy is good living. Well, let's continue with the leadership newspaper. Save NIPC for mismanagement now. Directors tell the federal government. Bandits kill pregnant woman, 11 others abduct 50 in Niger and Kaduna State. Britain get new High Commissioner in Nigeria, Richard Montgomery. So you can find more of that story. We have MTN Nigeria raises 125 billion naira through commercial papers. Atiku meet IBB Abdulsalami, names Gazima head of legal team. You can find that on page 7. The big story: hours after court ruling, INEC postponed governorship polls by 1 week to refigure the beavers. And we have some points of issue that said experts say INEC may have been forced to shift the polls because the process of refiguring beavers take real time. That's one of the points. The second one says some others argue that the beavers is a near real-time machine, which means the refiguration of the 194,664 devices can be done simultaneously within a short time. Another point says the beavers has generated a lot of controversy among the various political parties and their candidates, with some hoping that the device can grant them winning magic. And another point says, meanwhile, the postponement of the poll is coming after President Buhari, Tinubu, and Atiku had arrived Daura, Lagos, and Yola for the crisis. So I believe that it's either they will stay there, Rachel, or they have to come back to attend to other activities before going back. Still on the leadership newspaper, supplementary election to hold in Dogua's constituencies. You can find that too on page 16. Army orders 36 Cyrus Warrior plus helicopters from U.S. presidential poll. Tinubu inaugurate 49 SAN as legal team. You can find that on page 6. We have a picture story with members of the National Commission for Persons with Disability during a road walk to commemorate Women's Day in Abuja. We can see them over there. This is really applaudable. And that's all on the leadership newspaper.
On this day newspaper, we must harness our demography, numerical value to make progress, women's role invaluable. This is coming from Tinubu. Hails Marshal's appointment as G24 director. Buhari urges Nigerians in diaspora to support president-elect. FEG Buhari Tinubu Mila rejoices with Osibajo at 66. Sanwo-Olu on hashtag #EndSARS. I have no control over military. You can read the details on page 8. And coming from the NBA, despite criticism, 64.6% voters satisfied with presidential and National Assembly elections. The writer says urges INEC to ensure glitches in beavers fixed for governorship and houses of assembly poll. Apex Muslim body caution against inciting remarks, loots INEC's professionalism. You can continue with our story on page 10. And the big story on this day, INEC shifts governorship state assembly polls to March 18. Says postponement to ensure adequate time to back up data stored on over 176,000 beavers used for presidential and national election. Political parties can apply for certified true copies of back-end data of beavers. Appeal court refuses to stop commission from reconfiguring beavers. And said I would like us to talk about says postponement to ensure adequate time to back up data stored on over. INEC want to back up a data, for example, that we are yet to see completely. And I keep saying INEC haven't told us, or perhaps didn't tell us exactly how this beaver is supposed to be function. Now, if this beaver is supposed to transmit directly to the IRF portal where we are going to see the results there, then it means there's no need for a backup because the information has already been then transferred to a system that is supposed to hold it there for a very long period of time. And for me, the concerning thing is that the more we see this kind of information coming to INEC, I believe the more questions are being raised, as we can see previously and the paper you just read on leadership, where the issue concerning the poll, what people are thinking, what we are all assimilating and what everybody's assuming could be the issue behind this thing. I just really hope and I wish that INEC will come out directly and probably tell us what is the process concerning this beaver, because if it's for data being backed up, then you have the IRF portal where these beavers, if it's based on what we understood concerning this, information is supposed to be taken to that platform where it's supposed to be stored up there. But then perhaps if the beaver is not supposed to be functioning like that, then Nigerians need to know so that we stop speculating and so that we would be able to trust that this beaver is going to deliver to us as we hope it will come in the governorship election. Because what we need to know is that, okay, the presidential poll has gone, but we also need a free, fair, and credible election when it comes to the governorship election, because this is a government closer to us. And the people really need to know that when I go out there and I vote, that the true candidate that the people have given the most of their mandate to will be the one to come out as the winner. But with all of this back and forth and uncertainty, no clear-cut reason or explanation to this reconfiguration, I'm for sure that INEC is just stirring more and more confusion in Nigerians and making us unsure of what they are actually planning to do.
Of course, no wonder they said that they can apply for certified true copies of the back-end data of the beavers, because of course from the very beginning we're told that these beavers, the information being transmitted to the IRF will actually be saved as a PDF file where nobody can actually have access to hack it or do anything. So right now all we have to do is, they said, you can actually have access to it, especially to political parties who want to actually check for data. Yes, I know that there were concerns about tampering with evidence, and then why do they have to do that? I mean, just like the points that were raised. But then in all of this, just like you said, of course, there are questions of trust, confidence, and integrity coming from INEC, but I believe that they can right their wrong or whatever speculations Nigerians are having out there by actually addressing all the technical hitches and then making sure that the governorship election and also the House of Assembly's election for the state level will actually be fair and also credible at the end of the day. Well,
A few more stories on this day. Atiku engages 19 sons to prosecute election petition and reclaim mandate. We have a picture story poised for the Senate where we can see the Labour Party candidate and the woman and then the senator-elect for the Federal Capital Territory, Ireti. And that's all the news on this day newspaper.
On the Vanguard newspaper, open banking, CBN issue guidelines for customer data sharing. You can find that on page 19. And we have an advertorial that says Lagos Guba Sanwo-Olu tip to win based on experience. That was written by Mr. Femi, and you can actually see the column based on experience. We have excellent, good, average, and poor, and we can see the APC, which is having Sanwo-Olu, is actually very excellent. And then we have the PDP candidate, J-Tor, and then on the PDP, and then we have that of the Labour Party. So you can actually read more of that advertorial inside the Vanguard newspaper. The big story on beavers, INEC chief Guber Assembly polls to March 18 needs 5 days to refigure the 176,606 beavers machine. Confucius heralded the postponement. You can find more of that on page 18. And we have the picture story, Peter Obi and others in court yesterday during the tribunal. Buhari to Nigerians in diaspora, federal government emplace credible polls. And we have fixed beaver cliches before the governorship and assembly polls, NBA tells INEC. Court okays INEC request to refigure the beavers, with the rider declines to vary order allowing Obi Atiku to inspect. Grants Tinubu access to electoral materials to prepare his defense. INEC can't be trusted, coming from Oshutoku. And then we have, that is the DG of Obidati PCC. And then Atiku Okwa legal team meet over appeal court ruling. Atiku Assembly 19 sent to challenge the presidential poll. You can find all that on page 5. My life now in grave danger. Abia Red cries out. I hope that INEC will rectify what the issue is there. And on workers' welfare, Labour, Imo government flex muzzles. You can find more of that on page 7. And that's all on the Vanguard newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, INEC shifts governorship state assembly polls by 1 week. Tinubu inaugurates Olani Pekun 49 other sons to defend mandate. Presidential National Assembly polls fail to comply with Electoral Act, coming from Afenifere. CBN issues operational guidelines on open banking. 1 killed, multi-million naira businesses lost as fire raises Lagos auto spare parts market. Oyo Accord leadership endorses Makinde. The writer says, it's sabotage. I am very much in the race, coming from Adelubu. Accord national leadership dissolves Oyo ESCO stands with Adelabu. You can read all the details on page 2. Gadzama heads Atiku's 19-man legal team to challenge presidential poll outcome. Atiku says electoral fraud by INEC will be reversed. Holds closed-door meeting with IBB and Abdul Salami. You can find the details on page 4 and 5. Court gives INEC not to reconfigure beavers. Grants Tinubu Obi permission to inspect election materials. And that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
All right, before we move further with the newspaper review, we'll take a break where we can, actually let you, breathe in some air. For those who are living where it's already raining, to sip a cup of tea. For those who are living where the weather is quite hot, like Joss, can actually take a cup of water, especially to take care of your kidney. And when we come back, we will continue with the newspaper review. Please do not go, and we'll be right back. welcome back. If you're just tuning in, the program is the Dailies on Echo Television International, your current affair program where we take you through the papers on what is happening within Nigeria and also outside the country. We've seen various stories that were making the headline on our papers. INEC have postponed the election by 1 week of the governorship and also the State House of Assemblies, and then we can still see parties are going back. We have about 42 signs for the petition, and also the APC president-elect has also been given a grant, the leave to actually go ahead and inspect the electoral, materials for his own defense. These and many other stories are what we have been seeing on the paper. I still have Rachel Tanzi with me here. Thank you, Rachel.
You're welcome, Sally.
And I'm Sele Elisha Dashum. Please do well to drop your comment on our Facebook and YouTube pages, and also you can follow up on other of our handles where we keep all of our programs, flowing there. Let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. On Naira, Buhari can be prosecuted after May 29, says San. You can find that story on page 7. Companies' consumers' taxes raised by 42% coming from the NBS. Long fuel queues ground Abuja and neighboring states. You can find that too on page 23. National Assembly female membership drops as 11 lose re-election. And we have the big story: INEC shifts governorship and assembly polls by 1 week. Commission said despite ruling 176,000 machines can't be reconfigured before Saturday. Election material distribution disrupted in Delta, Osun, Bayelsa, Cross River, and others. And the picture story here: Sanwo-Olu orders probe as Buhari sympathized with the market fire victims. That is the market that was the spare part market that got burned down. I hope that we get to rectify it. This is not the first. I think we had that in Borno State too, where fire got down the market. I think it's high time we have maybe a technology where we tend to know what really, because most time when we see all of these, we will hear that there's a probe into what brought about the fire, and then we can see millions and billions of naira it's been lost. And then at the end of the day, I do not know if the government tend to compensate these traders for what they have lost. You can see some people from the picture story trying to see if they can actually find something that they can save from the fire. It's really, really sad. If you imagine families, maybe somebody had to even get a loan to actually get all of this. So I hope that we'll just grow in standard. I know it's step by step. I am not pushing them on anybody, but I'm just hoping that we'll grow to that level that we can be able to dictate what really caused the fire. Is it an electricity? Is it somebody? Because this is a really, 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 really big market, talking about spare parts. So it's really sad that some people will have to lose in that manner. But I hope that just like the Lagos State governor have said, there should be a probe to know what really caused this fire, and then if something can be done to actually compensate this trade.
Sele, there is technology that can detect a fire. If a well-structured building should go on fire now, if once the people in charge of investigating a fire come in, they'll be able to tell if it was a gas stove that caused the fire, or it was an electric wire that caused the fire, or even if it was an intentional fire because it's a well-structured system. But in as much as we invest millions and billions into the goods we have in our market, what over time we've not spent so much in the structuring of that market. And I want to believe that that's the first step the government and the marketers also need to put in place to make sure that tomorrow when something bad happens, in as much as we don't pray for it, there could be investigation and there could be a result and an outcome to what caused the fire, because we have large fires with a lot of people putting in money and investing, but there's no structure building wise, there's no structure to organization, there's no structure to even standard of what we have to call as market. So I feel the first step towards that is us having better market structure when it comes to buildings. Let there be standard, let it be up to standard, let it be that everything is put in a place that truly when something bad happens, there could be an investigation that could prevent another bad thing from happening.
Of course, yes. Rachel, we look forward to that. Still on the Punch newspaper from Niger State, terrorists kill 5 villagers, abduct 53. That can be found on page 4. And on roadblock, robbers attack Punch man as soldiers extort Ogun motorists. Dogwa left out as reps-elect get certificates of return. That can be found on page 8, and that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, coming from Umahi, while Lagosians should vote Sanwo-Olu. President-elect inaugurate legal team, defend my mandate. I believe this is a statement coming from all the candidates, plus the PDP, the Labour Party, and the APC president-elect. Tinubu hails Marshall's pick as G24 director. Don't truncate power transition, as NSCIA warns. Accord chair dumps party for Makinde. Government votes 10 billion naira for startup. You can find the details on page 26. Still on old note, Emefiele in contempt for not directing bag. Sage insists Supreme Court judgment and binding on all. And the big story on the Nation newspaper, INEC shifts governorship assembly polls by 1 week. Court declines Obi's request to stop agencies from resetting the beavers. We have a statement. The ruling of the tribunal makes it possible for the commission to commence the preparation of the beavers. It has come far too late for the reconfiguration to be concluded. You can start with the story on the front page and continue on page 4. 324 House of Representative members elect get the certificate of return. At the downside of the paper, we have Gadzama leads Atiku's legal team. Fire raises shops in Lagos, Kano, hostel in Anambra. The details can be found on page 6. And that's all the news on the Nation newspaper.
On Nigerian News Direct, Adedeke's 100-day in office uneventful, coming from Osun APC. NCDMB BOI partner on oil and gas park fund scheme. And we have statutory rape, prophet allegedly assault virtually impaired minor in Lagos. This is really a sad one. I hope that he faces the full rot of the law. And on Saturday, polls confusion as litigation, technical gaps force postponement of elections. With the rider, court ruling came today to perfect the reconfiguration coming from INEC, postpone election to March 18, adjust campaign schedule till midnight Thursday, March 16. Fix box glitches in beavers machines, other election technology, eliminate corrupt staff, coming from the NBA to INEC. INEC issues certificate of return to reps elect, and you can find more of that on page 3. And I really agree that whatever, not just the beavers, because we've concentrated so much on the beavers and forget that the beavers don't operate on their own.
Yes.
They need some staff to actually tamper with evidence or actually do something. So we hope that they address that too. Still on Nigerian News Direct, Ogunguba Atiku poll agent Mo Kashimo Adibutu loyalists declare support for Governor Abiodun and the APC. Despite Supreme Court order, Nigerians reject old Naira notes, await CBN directive. Police arrange Atiku rep arrested with $498,100 in Port Harcourt. Atiku gathered 17 cents to fight Tinubu. We have 2 picture story, so you can do a grab Nigerian News Direct and read any story that's of interest to you.
On Daily Independent, starting with the big story on presidential election, disquiet as appeal court grants INEC plea to reconfigure beavers. Afenifere declares Peter Obi winner of presidential election, canvasses vote for Lagos Labour Party Guber candidate and others. INEC cancels Dogoa Tudunwada constituency election results. My life in danger, Abga Eboyi Guber candidate cries out, says police commissioner has withdrawn his security details. Buhari back in Dara after trip to Qatar. The rider says sympathizes with victims of Lagos auto spare parts market fire. Sanwo-Olu asks CP to fish out perpetrators of Lagos market fire. INEC shifts Guba State Houses of Assembly polls to March 18. At the downside of the paper, we have appeal court grants Tinubu's request to inspect election material. The details can be found on page 6. At the top of the paper, we have still an article inaugurate legal team charges it to reclaim mandate. DSS alerts of plot to cause mayhem after Guba and Assembly polls. The writer says police read riot act to politicians and talks. We have a picture story where we can see the damage caused by the fire at the auto spare part market in Lagos, and that's all the news on Daily Independent.
All right, let's take a look at what's happening at the crude oil. Sustainable finance plan needed to drive Africa's energy transition, coming from the ARDA. And we have on oil, Nigeria's oil output rises by 100,000 barrels per day in February, the biggest gain in OPEC. You can find that on page 6. Gas flaring poisoning 40 million Niger Delta people, coming from civil society organization. I hope those with those oil blocks will actually do something, because it's really affect a lot of families that have lost their livelihood and also their lives. So we hope that something is being done, and this is a concern that civil society are raising. It has poisoned 40 million Niger Delta people. Well, we look forward to seeing what the government will do about that. The big story: Nigeria loses 393 billion naira to gas flaring in 2022. Shell onshore operation flare 94 billion naira gas, offending firms to pay 207 billion naira penalty, and then 17 billion naira gas flared in January this year. You can find more of that story on the front page and also on page 4, and that's all on the Sweet Crook reports.
On the Daily Times, International Women's Day, women in media urge colleagues to be technology savvy. INEC postpones Guba polls as appeal court approves reconfiguration of Beaver machines. Dismisses suit to vary other granted Obi and Labour Party. How 2023 general elections dealt economic blow on Nigeria's aviation sector. You can continue with that story on page 4. New UK bill will result in de facto asylum ban. This is coming from the UNHCR. And then we have a story on Whitney Queensland, 6 autopsy review as inquest begins April 4th. Nigerian woman on Italy's most wanted list snapped after 13 years. You can find the details on page 12. And that's all the news on the Daily Times newspaper.
On Daily Sun newspaper, gunmen attack Imo PDP Assembly candidate, runs house, race house and vehicles. You can find that on page 4. The big story: INEC chief Guber, State Assembly polls to March 18. Appeal Court okays Commission's request to reconfigure Beavers. Give Tinubu note to inspect election materials. IGP orders CP's commanders to protect INEC officials, materials, and the electoral process. That can be found on page 4 and 6. And we have IPAC Atiku Group endorse Rivers PDP candidate. Federal government revokes work permit visa of Seplat CEO for alleged racism discrimination against Nigerians. Atiku engages Gatzima, Ezekwume, Osofo, Etibe, and other sons to fight costs at the tribunal. PDP formally withdraws from Enugu East senatorial contest, with the rider "I remain the candidate" coming from Inamani. You can find that on page 6. Confusion as banks issue reject 500 naira and 1,000 naira, with the rider "Nigeria generates 697 billion naira, 11% growth from VAT in the fourth quarter of 2022. You can find that on page 2. And the 10th Senate group calls for zoning of Senate President to the southeast. You can find that on page 8. We have picture stories still, where we have the National Commission for Persons with Disability in a road walk to mark International Women's Day in Abuja. We can see that with different placards trying to advocate that women will be taken care of, and also no violence on the female gender. And that's all on the Daily Sun newspaper.
On the Sporting Sun newspaper, Tottenham Hotspurs fall to AC Milan. PSG out Bayern progresses. Coming from Kanu, Arsenal, not Man City will win EPL title. Jesus available to help Arsenal against Sporting Lisbon, and you can find the details on page 3. Man United ready 130 million euros for Camavinga, and you can find the details in the paper. We have Igalo advises Osimhen to pick Man United. Everton prioritizes contract talks with Uwobi. Rashford hits back at Man U critics after Liverpool loss. We have the big story that says PSG holds secret meeting with Osimhen. Napoli star wins player of the month for February. Barca president blasts "We don't buy referees," plan to honor Messi with tribute march. Harvard's penalty retake a joke, says Bellingham. And we have Yusuf called Tyson Fury crazy. And that's all the news on Sporting Sun.
Right, let's take a look at the world of business on Business Day newspaper. The big story said insecurity, election drive air travel rebound with the rider amid forex aviation fuel crisis. Amid the foreign exchange and fuel crisis, air travel in Nigeria rose last year owing to the spate of insecurity and months-long election campaign. And you can read more of that on page 30. We have INEC posture on beaver suspicious coming from Nigerians. You can flip to page 2 and read more detail of that. Cash-strapped Nigerians secure China funding to fix grid. Also, that can be found on page 2. Obi Atiku Tinubu to inspect election materials. You can find that too inside the paper. We have the picture story. Some female staff members of business, they celebrating the 2023 International Women. We can see that all over in various sector. Women are being, celebrating themselves too. This is really the right step in the right direction. And that is all on the Business Day newspaper.
On our Bangladesh paper, the Business Standard, business gets costlier as customs overvalue imports. 24 hours into Gulistan lands, possible causes yet to be determined. A reunion unimagined. How inspiring kidney transplants from brain dead donors can save lives. At the downside of the paper, we have Bangladesh investment flows decline sharply in 2022, a report coming from UNCTAD, and that's all the news on the Business Standard.
Well, we hope that they go deep into this, how inspiring kidney transplant from brain dead donors can save lives. Well, I hope that it doesn't just end in Bangladesh, but then it gets to every other medical sector, because or every country, because we really need to know how this can be done. Just like other, will I say, cures are seeing how they can help those living with sickle cell and all of this. So technology is really, we have things that are revolting, things are really growing. So I'm really excited to see this. So we just keep our fingers crossed and hope that more will be done to save life. Thank you so much, Rachel, for doing this with me. And thank you to the crew members and everyone that made sure that this program comes on air and also giving us all their backing, our supporters and followers. Until we come your way again, please do remember to take care of yourself and take a cup of water.